Our staff and some guests that we have here with us today, and any of the constituents that are watching watch us live on Facebook. I'll now call the meeting to order. Item 1.1 is the territorial acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Item number 2, administrative and procedural issues. 2.1, approval of today's agenda, which has been circulated prior to the meeting. So are there any additions or changes to the agenda for today?
Mr. Chair, I would propose to add item 4.3, which is some schedule changes. So tentative meeting schedule for October to December, please.
Okay.
Council has materials been distributed to council.
Okay, good, thank you very much. Any other agenda additions to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting, please. So moved by Councillor Joseph, seconded by Councillor Porter. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Approval of minutes of the June 19th, 2024 regular committee of the whole meeting to be approved as presented. Those were included in your council package today too. So could I have a motion to approve those minutes, please? Moved by Councillor Goodwin, seconded by Councillor O'Telling. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Recommend motion the minutes of the July 24th, 2024 special committee of the whole meeting be approved as presented. Those were also included in your agenda package. The motion to approve those, please. Moved by Councillor O'Telling, seconded by Councillor McCormick. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, aye. Thank you. Motion carried. Business arising is included and will be reviewed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. Business arising is at pages 11 and 12 of Council's package of information. You can see that almost all items are complete with the exception of one item, which is creating a report on the issue of a well for drinking water in River Joggins area, and that be brought to a future meeting committee of the whole. And I know that Director Waugh-Kress is a busy time of year for him and his staff with capital projects on the go, and I'm sure that there's an intention to get to that work as soon as is practically possible. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions on that report? Seeing none, we'll move right along to item 2.4, which is public hearings and presentations. 2.41, presentation community solar program project. Director Boone will lead the way on this one. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of council, those in attendance. I'm just going to be very brief because I'll let the presentation from our team at Area speak for itself. Council is aware that we have been working on a long-term project for solar under the low carbons community funding that we receive from the province. So Area Works is our project managers and lead advisors on this project. So they're just going to give an overview to council. It's part of the process as we get ready to submit our application for potential power purchase agreements with the province, and with the process in place, it does require we keep council informed. So Aaron Long is going to present, and Hannah Doe is here. She's been working quite closely with Aaron and with myself and Steve Ferguson, who's in attendance with our staff team today. So I'm going to let them present, and an opportunity for maybe questions at the end of the presentation. But I'll leave it at that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Director Boone. Come forward. Oh, we want a reminder? Okay. Good morning.
Thank you for the audience, Mr. Chair, Council, Mayor by virtual attendance. Glenn has introduced us. My name is Aaron Long. I've been with Area since its inception, so if there's any questions on what we're trying to achieve as a municipally owned renewable energy corporation, happy to answer those. I'm joined by Hannah Doe, who's leading the project management aspects of your community solar project. I presented here 2 years ago, and we've got some updates on the progress we've made. Happy to report that by working closely with your municipal staff, that the town of Truro is interested and has agreed to be in this partnership as well. And that's one thing we specialize in. All we do is renewable energy projects for municipalities in Nova Scotia. Our organization is owned by, we can go to the next slide, actually. Our organization is owned entirely by the towns of Berwick, Antigonish, and Mahone Bay, who have their long-standing municipal electric utilities. And we've been approached by other municipalities that would like to replicate our success in this space. We developed a relationship with the County of Cumberland through the Solar Electricity for Community Buildings. Your municipality has more of those projects municipally owned than any other municipality in Nova Scotia, and so we're happy to have grown the relationship from that time to what we're talking about today. We have run the gamut from bright idea, twinkle in one's eye, all the way to commercial operations on the Ellers House Wind Farm. 3 similar projects in our towns as listed here for community solar, and we're looking to bring all of that experience, hard lessons learned, scars on our faces from doing these types of things in a municipal context for the benefit of your council and the town of Truro and one other project as well. So we can go to the next slide. And Mr. Chair, at your discretion, if there are questions from your council, that gives me an opportunity to take a breath, and it leads to a more engaging interaction. So don't hesitate at your discretion.
Okay, great. I'll remind you that we have 15 minutes set aside, so if you can we can add it to the, add questions at the very end, or if they interrupt you, I'll allow you a few extra minutes.
Yeah. So this is a slide here to indicate and illustrate the various components of these projects that are necessary to be dealt with in order to successfully achieve commercial operations. This is the same, what I call the risk circle that I presented 2 years ago, area all the way through. We manage holistically the ownership interest of municipalities through renewable energy projects. They're significant, they're complex, but they generate stable revenue streams for municipalities that have few other ways to generate other than tax. And the provincial government is supportive of municipal ownership of clean energy projects that align with their policy goals. So there's aspects here from grid interconnection, which we have lots of experience with, community engagement, which I'll talk about on the next slide, is a key focus. And we have an in-depth understanding of what municipalities expect for infrastructure projects in their community. There's a specific way to go about that, and we spend a lot of attention to that. So on that regard, that's why we thought it was important to get an update to council before we start some pretty significant feasibility studies this fall. So there'll be some geotechnical work, there'll be contractors on site, getting the necessary information so that our general contractor, Goldbeck Solar, which we've procured through a competitive process, gets the necessary information about the site to propose the least cost design that will maintain its life over the 25-year cycle. So we want to make sure that there's no surprises. So happy to answer questions now on an ongoing manner through your staff, but there'll be some geotechnical activity going on site. We need to demonstrate that we've engaged with the community as part of the application into the government process. So we do that through open houses, meetings with stakeholders. Some communities desire to have a community liaison committee. That's what we implemented in Ellers House, and we found great benefit. Similar communities in the district of Lunenburg have decided that they do not want to have a community liaison committee. And so each municipal council can make that determination after receiving feedback from the community. So part of our open house sessions solicit feedback from attendees on whether they believe a community liaison committee is necessary, and if they want to participate. There's no limit to how many people want to participate in that, and we found that to be a useful vehicle to exchange information on the project without having a 400-person attended session every time. Community updates through social media feeds has been helpful, and through this whole engagement, communities' energy literacy increases, which the province is very excited to see through our work, because it makes the transition to decarbonized energy systems cheaper and cleaner, the more buy-in that citizens have through this. So this is a key focus for us, and I've done this personally for wind and solar and tidal and biomass. I've been active in this province for nearly 2 decades now, and that's a lesson that the industry has grown into, is a key focus on community engagement. If you don't get it right, it turns against you, and then you end up spending more time dealing with that than you do executing the project. So everybody's rewarded for investments in community engagement.
If I might ask one question, just for clarity, for the people that are watching here today, and perhaps some of the people that are in the room that might not know, the location of this in relation to Spring Hill, if you could maybe describe a little bit of that, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
we have a map upcoming in our presentation, but to answer that right now, it's near the wastewater treatment facility and behind, I believe, what people typically call ROPAC. So there's a piece of land that the county owns there, not being used for other purposes. And so that's key to integrate these solar facilities into communities, that there's no other taxable use, there's no other community benefit. And I think by working with your staff, that they've identified this site location as meeting all of those objectives.
Thank you very much.
So the image on the screen here is what the facility in Berwick looks like. You'll notice Premier Houston and his team came down to see some physical implementation of small-scale, community-owned renewable energy facilities. If any member of your council or community or staff would like to see the facilities that are in operations in Berwick, Mahone Bay, or Antigonish, there's lots of lessons learned there. Find that helpful to get a physical appreciation for what is proposed to be implemented into your community. I'm happy to show off our wind farm and our solar projects here as well. But we will have more personal protective equipment than what's seen in the image here now that these facilities are operational. So the province of Nova Scotia has implemented what it calls a community solar program, where they will be paying prices or awarding contracts to applications such as ours to enter into contracts with Nova Scotia Power for 25 years at a specified and fixed price. And that is what generates the economic viability of this initiative. We are not here proposing projects that cost the municipality money. These are revenue positive facilities. They sell their power at rates that generate more money than the cost of financing and operating and keeping these assets healthy for 25 years. The province has implemented an aspect to this program where they offer discounted power to subscribers. Across North America, the conventional model is for subscribers to pay a monthly fee in order to receive that financial benefit. The proposed structure here by the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables is there is no upfront fee, there is no monthly fee. This is a near 10% discount to subscribers. So you might say, well, the program will be infinitely subscribed at the immediate opening. I would agree with that. So what we think is appropriate is for the community and council to identify which groups could most use that discount power. But this is the structure here of how it works. We put a proposal together that covers all the aspects that the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables seeks. They want to see that your house is in order, that if they award you a power purchase agreement, that you can get to commercial operation. That's our job on your behalf. And then you'll enter a contract with Nova Scotia Power, and Nova Scotia Power administers that discount to subscribers. It's a 25-year arrangement. The program has 100 megawatts of available capacity. So in a world where they want to see more municipal modernization and collaboration, they make us compete for scraps as they hand out these market opportunities. So our job is to find that middle ground, walk that tightrope, bring as many municipalities together in various partnerships on various projects, and we hope to achieve that there, which is also what we're doing on the South Shore with a number of municipalities. So this project gets, the application gets submitted. We expect to be successful given the great location of the site and its municipal owners. The project maximum size can be 10 megawatts worth of inverters. We're proposing a 7 megawatt site in Spring Hill because that's the maximum that the local grid can handle.
Go ahead, Councilor Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just got 3 questions so far to give you a break too. So the existing municipalities, have they given feedback on their revenue they've collected so far with the current projects?
So the existing municipalities of Berwick, Mahone Bay, and Antigonish, they are going through a process about setting their rates for their municipal electric utilities, what they are paying for their solar projects. They haven't made a determination on that yet, but it will be set at rates high enough for them to recover their costs.
Okay. Now, I know that area like the back of my hand. There's a lot of traffic on the black, we call it the black track. That's where the sewer line goes toward the water treatment plant. A lot of traffic back there. Will this site be fenced in?
It will be fenced in.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Did you have something to add, Greg?
No, well, just to say that those municipalities that you referred to have their own electric utilities, which differs from the situation that the municipality of the County of Cumberland is in. So there's just that nuance to be aware of.
If I may expand on that very briefly, Mr. Chair, we'll be, as part of our application to the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables, specifying our bid price. And so there's a financial model. Your municipal staff will work through that with us to ensure that there is always profitability through that. We did not have to go through that application in our own towns, Berwick, Mahone Bay, and Antigonish, because they have their electric utility, and those calculations and final points are still under consideration because the debt is placed at, as you know, at only 2 times through the year, so we got to figure out what the debt is going to be. Berwick is already ahead. They've placed their debt. They're working through their final operations and maintenance. Mahone Bay and Antigonish haven't placed their debt yet, so they don't know what their power purchase rates will be. But we'll be bidding into a process here, specifying our price. That becomes part of the evaluation criteria, and if they select you, that's the price that Nova Scotia Power will pay you.
Perfect, thank you. Go ahead.
So moving on to this, a few more details here. There's a lot of information, but I covered this 2 years ago, and to respect the time here, the ownership will be entirely through the County of Cumberland and Truro. Subscribers will not take an ownership position. They effectively get the credit of the solar electricity from a facility that municipalities will own for the life cycle of this project. You've hired us as your project manager to make sure that your ownership interests are protected as you navigate through the cycles, through the development and the construction and the operations of this. We are not being prescriptive. We are not asking you to hire us as operators of a facility. It's a growing industry. There may be other private firms that can offer a better proposition than we can, and we're 1.5 years away from getting to that decision, so you should keep that option open. But in the end, if you decide that our offering at that time is superior to the alternatives, happy to have your business for that. One point that I again want to stress at the bottom here is your collaboration with the town of Truro makes your upcoming submission that much more attractive and competitive against other municipalities that are seeking to do this on their own. I've covered the benefits of a clean energy system is this thing makes money for the municipality because the power purchase agreement price is higher than your cost of keeping the asset healthy and financing it. There is also the financial benefit through the subscriptions, which is an amount equal to the number I've put on here. That is what will be allocated to your community members. However council decides, we have some recommendations on that. There are 6,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, that are avoided every year because of this project. And we estimate 75 job years created primarily through the construction of this and some token amount of economic development during its operational phase. And we think those are excellent motivators. And I believe that's what you took into consideration when you blessed the development funds for this project.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions? Don't see any.
Okay, moving on to the site details. Next slide. Yeah, so this is a proposed location here. I think we've moved the site a little south just to shorten that power line there so it's not tight up against the property boundaries. There's a red area that we've been asked to avoid because there's great geothermal potential there. This used to be a coal mine. I think you folks know this site better than we, so I'm not here to educate you. I'd like to have you folks educate us on that site and educate our contractors. But we're proposing approximately 20,000 solar panels that will generate the annual equivalent energy of 1,200 homes. That's why we notionally say there's 1,200 subscriptions. And we are moving this fall to do the geotechnical investigations and some environmental work through consultants there, primarily in the areas of wetland delineation to make sure we're not disturbing those important features on this site. We think it's got a great interconnection ability given the power lines that run by on that road to the south there. That's why you see that line with all the yellow dots. Those are new power poles. We can move to the next slide. Right, so this is an overlay of what activities we're planning to do. The geotechnical, that's the greatest risk with regards to cost in a solar electricity facility. The panels and the racking, the things that go on that are basically commodity projects. You buy those, you want to make sure you're dealing with reputable vendors that will maintain their warranties over the life cycle. Different sites have different geotechnical conditions that you can't totally know just by looking at the site. So that's why we're spending money or managing your spending of money on that investigative work. We expect that to be completed by the end of the year. Nova Scotia Power is working through the interconnection process. We've submitted the information on your behalf to move through that. And there's also, I've mentioned before, the environmental work. And I've covered on the right-hand side the community engagement activities. Very soon after this, we'll be working with your staff to put out social media posts. Again, what you don't want to have happen is a community be surprised. That's why we're having this preliminary conversation. We want to make sure we get the information out through your social media channels, and eventually leads to a public open house sometimes this fall. Good luck in your upcoming municipal elections if you're reoffering, and good luck to all candidates in your municipality that are running. We'll be working with your staff to make sure that our public open houses do not interfere or influence any of those ongoing activities. But it's something that is necessary to take place before we submit our application on your behalf to the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables.
Perfect.
So, go ahead.
One thing we just looked at and noted that the project will do 1,200 residential applications potentially, and there's actually 1,231 residential customers or homes in the town of Spring Hill. So it's basically everybody.
Yeah.
If you were going to do it that way, right? It's just uncanny. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to be clear, I don't think we talked about 1,200 subscribers. I think we talked about removing or creating enough energy for 1,200
Homes.
average homes, and the number of dwelling units is really close to 1,200. So it's a great.
Do remember you're in a partnership with Truro that may want to be, or would definitely be interested in securing some benefits for the folks that could use them. So, we've got a construction project, and it's an exciting thing, but I think from a municipal perspective and from a government of Nova Scotia perspective, how this group allocates these subscriptions will be of key interest. We want to make sure that municipal staff and municipal councils are well prepared to deal with the process associated with that, because there is a finite number of those subscriptions. And if the County of Cumberland's like everywhere else in Nova Scotia, there's more than 1,200 people that need that help. So we'll go through that process, establish some criteria. The Department of Natural Resources and Renewables has some expectations with that. So we're not here to say who that goes to today. We just put everybody on notice that we're seeking feedback for the design of that subscription. And we also want to make sure we don't build up too much fanfare and then not get the bid, and then those types of conversations have. So you can see our timeline here, April to December, as we're working on the feasibility studies, putting the application together, and we hope to submit that by the end of the year. The Department of Natural Resources will take 3 months probably to review all that. We expect to be successfully awarded in April of 2025, and then construction starts. There's a number of items there, all things that we've presented before, and I think a safe date for commercial operations would be November 2026. We've had some supply chain disruptions for our 3 projects, and we want to make sure that there's conservative expectations regarding the implementation of this project so that we can exceed those expectations. On to the next slide. That is the final one.
There we go.
Sweet. Okay.
Perfect timing. Go ahead, Councilor Hotelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a clarification. So our decision would be if we wanted to prioritize, say, nonprofit organizations for subscribers. That's sort of something that we would determine at some point after we were successful?
The answer to your question about those organizations being a priority group is yes. We may want to move through, again, recognizing an upcoming municipal election. Maybe for the new council, it'll be approving what that allocation would be before we are successful, because the more thinking that we can demonstrate to the province as part of our application, the higher we will score in that criteria. But there's also the other edge, where you want to make sure you manage people's expectations so that people aren't counting on that discounted power. So I think mostly yes is my answer to your question. We typically favor more thinking and more planning going in at the earlier stages, recognizing you have a municipal council election. I think we should have an open house, solicit the community's feedback, solicit council's feedback, and then come back with a proposal sometime probably late November.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question or? Seeing no more questions, I'd like to thank you for your presentation today. Very informative, and we'll be looking forward to the next phase of the project. So thank you so much.
Great. Well, thank you for your interest in collaborating with our organization and our time today. On behalf of the three mayors that are owners of our towns, delighted to grow our sphere of collaboration throughout Nova Scotia. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Aaron.
Item 3.1, Social Media Policy 16-01. Peter McCracken, Deputy CAO, the floor is yours. You saying? Never mind.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Staff are bringing forward recommendations to amend our current social media policy. The purpose of the policy is to provide clarification on appropriate use and management of social media by employees, council members, volunteers, and other representatives representing the municipality, committees of council, and so forth. Provide direction to those managing and administering corporate social media sites and protecting the municipality's reputation. In reviewing the current social media policy, it requires a significant overhaul. The amended version expands on the roles and responsibilities of employees, elected officials, volunteers, and others with respect to an inappropriate use of social media, the oversight and the moderation of our social media accounts, and setting standards for messaging. The current policy showing changes would not have been helpful. It was significantly overhauled, so what I did include in the package the amended policy as well as the existing policy. And there's a motion in your package for consideration.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. The motion in the package says that council forward the amended social media policy 16-01 to a future council meeting for approval. Motioned by Councilor Joseph and seconded by Councilor Goodwin. And is there any questions on any of this or any comments? Seeing none, I'll now call for the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you very much. 3.2, Video Surveillance Policy Amendment 08-03. Peter McCracken has the floor again. Starting to
Thank
seem
you,
like
Mr. Chair.
a bit like the Glenn show, but just a different person.
I'm stealing Glenn's spotlight for a few minutes. Staff are bringing forward recommendations to another policy, video surveillance policy. This stemmed from the bylaw policy analysis that Stantec Consulting conducted on council's behalf. The purpose of the policy is to ensure that the appropriate use of municipality's video surveillance system and the recordings or images collected by it. And this policy applies to any video surveillance system operated by the municipality. Video surveillance policy was originally approved in 2008. Since then, our municipal facilities have grown significantly, particularly with the dissolution of the former towns. Subsequently, our video surveillance system has expanded as well. In reviewing the current policy, it requires a significant overhaul. The amended version adds or expands upon sections related to employee roles and responsibilities, video surveillance and viewing, storage, access and viewing, and unauthorized disclosures. Staff feel the amendments to the policy provide specific, clear, and comprehensive direction to employees and better protects the privacy of the information gathered through our video surveillance system. Again, the current policy showing the changes was not helpful to include in the package as it was a rewrite, a significant rewrite. So what we did include was the amended video surveillance policy as well as the current video surveillance policy. There's a motion in your package for consideration, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCracken. The recommended motion is that council forward the amended video surveillance policy 08-03 to a future council meeting for approval. So I have someone to make that motion, please. Councilor McCormick, seconder for the motion. Councilor Gould, all those in, let's have a discussion first. Does anybody want to have anything to say about this? I want to get a bit of a hurry here, so.
Hurry up off it, there you go.
Listen, it's not that close to lunchtime, so I'm not sure why I'm in such a big hurry. Okay, any comments? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Slow motion replay in Spring Hill there. Motion carried, thank you very much. Personnel policy, Peter McCracken will lead us on this one. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, the municipality aims to provide fair and equitable working environment for its employees. And as part of our strategic projects, Budget Council approved funds to retain an external consultant to assist in rewriting our existing personnel policy. The municipality's existing policy was approved in 2019. As a good practice, an extensive review of the policy was completed to ensure our employment policies and practices are current and support employees in our workplace. Upon review, it was determined that gaps existed, clarity was needed in certain sections, and employment practices and legislation have evolved since 2019. Cox and Palmer were retained to do an initial review of the personnel policy to provide updated language, legislative requirements within the document to tackle new policy areas. Newer significant enhanced policy areas include sections addressing confidentiality, attendance management, respectful workplace behavior, drugs and alcohol in the workplace, and accommodation, equity, and accessibility. Once drafted, staff spent a fair amount of time, further editing, updating the draft handbook or policy to reflect current and or preferred employment practices in our workplace. Staff further integrated existing employment related policies into the new policy. Therefore, we are asking Council to also repeal the following policies, which are now consolidated, making them redundant. It would be the Personnel Policy 19-02, Workplace Clothing Policy 18-16, Sexual Harassment Policy 18-14, and Drugs and Alcohol in the Workplace Policy 18-01. There's a recommended motion in your package for consideration, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCracken. The recommended motion is that council forward the approval of the personnel policy to a future council meeting, and furthermore, that council forward the recommendation to repeal the personnel policy 1902, the workplace clothing policy 18-16, the sexual harassment policy 18-14, and the drugs and alcohol in the workplace policy 18-01 to a future council meeting. Could I have a motion to approve this, please? Motion moved by Councilor Joseph, seconded by Councilor Porter, and we'll now open up the floor to discussion, and J.O. Harrod has a comment to make.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. This item comes forward really as part of the organizational change that the municipality has gone through as part of the Clear the Deck project, as part of our ongoing work to quite frankly, reorganize many parts of the municipality over the last 3 years. And it reflects what we ran across, or what we encountered, I should say, at the management level, was that many of the provisions of the old personnel policy reflected practices and situations that were just unmanageable. They just vestiges of the past, not to say that they were wrong at the time, but they became outdated. And so we were, as a management group, in many cases, we had to find our way outside the policy to manage the organization in a best practice sort of way. So this new personnel policy and these provisions reflect mostly our current practice and the way we run the municipality today. And I guess the last thing to say is to reiterate a piece of what I already said, but to give it emphasis, and that's that this does represent perhaps not the last, but a significant chunk of the organizational change that we've gone through. And if one of if one of the things that's on council's collective radar, both as a council and as individual members of council, was to sign on for the change that we've gone through and, you know, to tick a number of boxes that we set out to do when we began a few years ago, this is really a major part of one of these things. So I want to recognize a lot of work that Peter and Kelly Seaman have put into this, and our management group, and we think it's a great reflection of where we need to be, and quite frankly, in many cases, where we are. So appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilor Hotelling.
Mr. Chair, and I agree with all of Mr. Harriot's comments. I think this is really great and a huge step. There was one tiny edit that I noticed, and it's on page 71 of 137 in the package, and it's just at the end of paragraph 2, it doesn't seem to have an end to the sentence, and that was the only thing that I had a comment on.
This page, Jen?
71.
71 of 137 or page 26 of the policy.
Paragraph 2.
Good catch.
Oh, yes.
And maybe
I
it's,
think there's an orphan word in that sentence.
yeah, just a quick.
So we'll make that change, yeah.
Thank you.
For future review.
Appreciate that. If you can, I can tell you what.
I've only been over it 20
I can tell you
times.
what, that in the last month and a half, there have been many times where we've said, oh, we can't get this done. Oh, we can't, and we've really driven this to this point, time-wise, and so I'm not surprised to see that we've got an orphan ward or two. So thank you
Yeah,
for that.
everything else looks great.
I know you would have read it, Jim.
Perfect, thank you very much. Anyone else have any comments on this? I do have one. I note that the vast amount, over 50 pages of documents involved with putting this together, and it automatically tells me the enormous amount of work that staff, Peter, you and your group have put into this, and on behalf of council, I want to say thank you for that effort, and this really is a very good piece of work. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
okay, no other comments? So everybody in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I just want to thank council for the support on that. It is our intention, later on in the agenda, we're going to talk about council meetings in October, and it's our intention to bring these policies forward at that meeting so we can, in fact, tick those boxes before the end of the term of this council. So
Very good.
thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, business issues. Item 4.1, Equity and Diversity Terms of Reference Amendment. Deputy CEO McCracken, the floor is yours again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, municipalities must develop an equity and diversity plan by April 2025. Council approved the terms of reference at a previous meeting for a new equity and diversity committee. We're recommending a slight change. The committee's role, of course, is to advise council on identifying, preventing, and eliminating discrimination in municipal services, and its primary initial role is to develop an equity, diversity, and inclusion plan, which is due in the spring. As such, we're recommending that we change the committee member appointments from 3 years to 1. The rationale for this is that the mandate of the committee in the first year is quite clear, and beyond that, the development of the plan, it's uncertain as to what the ongoing function of the committee will be. So as people are sort of inquiring or applying, potentially applying to be committee members, it's, you know, all we can really tell them at this point is that what they are going to be doing in year 1, and beyond that, it's a bit unclear. So we're suggesting that we change the term of appointments from 3 years to 1 year, and there's recommended motion in your package.
Thank you very much, sir. So the recommended motion is the council forward the amended terms of reference for the Equity and Diversity Advisory Committee to the future council meeting for approval. Can I have a motion for that, please? Moved by Councilor Gould, seconded by Councilor Telling. Any discussion or comments on this? Go ahead, Councilor Gould.
Yeah, just one, the fact that we're going to 1 year doesn't mean that the person couldn't re-offer the next year or be
That's correct, yeah.
accepted the next year.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We wanted to build some flexibility in, Councillor, to be honest, so that's why we are suggesting 1 year.
We have a motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much. Equity and diversity, 4.2, advisory committee appointments. Deputy CEO McCracken, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As just to reiterate, the role of the Equity and Diversity Advisory Committee, and has been discussed. And of course, it plays a pivotal role in helping the municipality become a more inclusive service provider in accordance with the Nova Scotia's Dismantling Racism and Hate Act. It also increased connectedness across the county between government service providers and citizens. We've been had some interest in people in joining our newly formed Equity and Diversity Advisory Committee. We have a number of names in the packages. I won't go through all the bios there, but we have Tammy Drew. She's of Mi'kmaq descent and works for the federal government. Richie Wilcox, there's a quote there. Richie is a resident of Parsboro and identifies as a queer person with inclusivity values at heart. And Michelle Parsons also works for the federal government with First Nations communities. And Rachel Smith works for the Y-Reach Settlement Support Program in Amherst with the Y in Spring Hill. And Jane Grady, who is a senior from Malagash. The lead staff member for the committee, acting as a coordinating role, of course, is our community engagement coordinator, Stephanie Kalhak, and she's been receiving these applications on an ongoing basis. There's a recommended motion in your package for consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brecken. The recommended motion is the council forward the appointments of Tammy Drew, Rachel Smith, Richie Wilcox, Michelle Parsons, and Jane Grady as members of the Equity and Diversity Advisory Committee to a future council meeting for approval. So moved by Councilor Redmond, seconded by Councilor Otelli. Any comments or discussion here? Seeing none, I'll make one. I would like to thank these people for volunteering their time on behalf of our municipality, and let them know that their volunteer efforts going forward will be greatly appreciated by all of us here at the municipality. So, anyone else? Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much, folks. External reports, committee minutes, 5 point, what do you want to do here? Oh, sorry, 4.3. Thank you very much. I had a little note written over there, wasn't paying attention. Tentative meeting schedule.
Thank you,
Harris.
thank you, Mr. Chair. This was an item that was added to the agenda. Council has the information we distributed to them before the meeting. I think the memo is fairly self-explanatory. There is an extremely busy tentative schedule of events from September 27th until December 18th on the back of the memo. As we approach fall and election year, it's always hectic. We collectively, council and staff, have a busy few months approaching for sure. Elections, training and orientation, conferences, workshops, and Christmas holidays, as well as regular meetings and meetings, Police Advisory Board and other committees are all in the mix. So we've put together a tentative schedule on the next page, and not asking for approval of all of it, but looking for approval for the rescheduling of the Committee of the Whole and council meetings. And so that's why the motion is worded that way. And it's that council cancel the regular Committee of the Whole and council meetings in October, given that there is an election on the 19th. Have a special council meeting on October 2nd. And that purpose of that meeting would be to deal with just a few business issues, like the policies that are coming from this meeting, where we're required to give 7 days notice, and that's why we aren't adding them to this afternoon's agenda. So we're proposing to deal with those on October 2nd. We have one other significant item of business that we propose to deal with on October 2nd as well. And that a special council meeting be scheduled for November 13th for the purpose of swearing in the new council. There's a requirement to wait 10 days for a mandatory recount period after the election. And so looking at the calendar proceeding from the 19th forward, The 13th seems to be the date that works in November. The new council would take office on that day. We reschedule both the regular committee of the whole and council meetings in November to the 20th, due to the fact that there is both new council orientation and the NSFM annual conference is in Halifax on the 4th week of the month. So that sort of jams up the end of November, so we propose to move both of those meetings to November 20th. And due to the Christmas holiday, reschedule the December Committee of the Whole to December 11th and the regular December council meeting to the 18th. Normally, we would be looking at Committee of the Whole on the 18th and council on Christmas Day. I'm thinking that most folks probably don't want to do that. And so that's. There'll be lots of turkeys, I'm sure. For December. For December 18th. And for council's information, there's a number of other items that are slotted in there on the second page. Looking at a council orientation and beginning council orientation, a full day on October 30th. There's a municipal affairs council orientation on the 4th and 5th in I believe Halifax, but perhaps Truro, and the NSFM conference is in November. And we've also worked in a council workshop on priority setting. So that's what the draft schedule looks like for the fall, and we're looking for council's approval for the rescheduling of the actual committee of the whole and council meetings.
Perfect.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. The council motion is that council cancel the regular committee of the whole and council meetings in October, schedule a special council meeting on October the 2nd, schedule a special council meeting on November the 13th for the purpose of swearing in the new council, reschedule both the regular November committee of the whole and council meetings to November 20th, and reschedule the regular December committee of the whole to December 11th and the regular December council meeting to December the 18th. So moved by Councilor Joseph, seconded by Councilor Goodwin. Any comments or discussion on any of this? Seeing none, I'll call for the motion. All those in favor of the changes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much, folks. We're moving right along.
Wicked. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Herrick, for that. I know it's been a lot of work to get that all organized and try and sort out everybody and all the moving parts. It's never easy to get something like that done, so it's well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
External reports, included in your package today is item 5.1, which is the Navigator Monthly Report, item 5.2, which is Solid Waste Monthly Report, and item 5.3, which is the Cumberland Public Library's monthly reports. And if no one has any questions for those, on any of those three items, we shall move along to number 6. Don't see anything. So, internal updates, reports, and this is where we get to see all the happy people that make the world go round as far as the municipality is concerned. Item 6.1, Administration Department Monthly Report. Peter McCracken, Deputy CAO, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll keep this.
Actually, before Peter begins, he's actually municipal clerk and deputy CAO as of yesterday. So congratulations.
There you go.
Came with a real hefty raise, too.
A higher chair.
Higher chair. No, happy
Very
to do
good.
it, happy to do it. Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are 2 reports in your package from each department, so July and August, and folks have been asked to keep this brief, just concentrating a few highlights. Highlights from the admin departments include our continued efforts to improve our cybersecurity, including server replacements, patching updates, trialing new software tool to decrease our phishing attempts, ensure our water treatment facilities are secure with antivirus, patch management, and network firewall. In HR, we continue the process of switching our pension from our current provider to the PSSP. We've also been holding various safety training opportunities and continue to work towards a new safety program for the municipality. In community development, we continue preparations of our Truth and Reconciliation event on September 26th, next week. We also hosted several engagement opportunities to gather community input into our Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Plan, which will be reviewed by the new committee to help inform the new plan in April. And finally, the advertising and sponsorship program has been active this year. To date, we've had 11. I think we had another one the other day, so probably 12 applications approved for a variety of opportunities to be recognized throughout the municipality. Any questions, Mr. Chair?
Thank you very much, Mr. Packard. Any questions for Mr. Packard on any of this report? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll say thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
Item 6.2, Development and Planning Department Monthly Report. Mr. Boone, Director. It seemed kind of strange that it was this far into the meeting before we saw you.
Just getting started.
Careful what you wish for. Mr. Chair, I think we'll change that this afternoon. I'll even be tired of hearing my own voice by 5 o'clock. Good morning. Reports, there's 2 reports in your packets for July and August. I'm just going to give you some very brief highlights. There's lots of detail in the report. Probably the main one I'd like to point out is on the economic development side, the Gateway Park and the kiosk, the information kiosk is now in place with information, as well as the billboards have been installed. A lot of that happened between July and this week, so just wanted to note that to council. Subdivision, you might see a little bit lower numbers in the data, but we're still seeing the creation of a number of lots. So creation of lots creates opportunity for new housing starts, so that's a positive for us. Overall, using the August stats, we have 103 new housing starts year to date. So still significant growth. We're seeing a little bit of a dip from previous years. The one thing with the new housing starts, it creates a lot of additional inspections for our building officials, because each permit with a new home construction requires, I should know better, but it's between 5 and 6 inspections. So they've been very busy with keeping up on those inspections. Keeping with the building officials, we have some, our junior officials that are now level 1s, as we're all aware. They went to HRM to do some additional training, and I just want to recognize HRM for supporting this training. They spent a day with a specialist under plumbing inspections. Joshua Hirschfield is the individual with HRM that took our team, Sam and Corey, for the day. So I just want to recognize the cooperation with HRM to provide that a full day of them tagging along and talk with them, and they got lots of value out of it. Mr. Hirschfield's supervisor is Adam Sandler, right? So just be careful how we look at that name. And the supervisor for that whole section, or the manager, is Dawson Patterson, who David has a really good relationship with. So I thought that was important to note in this open council there. And I'm going to finish with short-term rentals. I'm sure some councillors have heard from constituents with regards to short-term rentals. The province put in the requirement for the registration, so we're working through that. It's a bit of a mountain of work, so we've had about 160 applications to date. We think there's probably double that will come through. We've issued 60 what we're calling zoning confirmation letters to date, so we're still got lots more to process. In our work with the province, and the CAO has been in some of the conversations with the province, but in the bi-weekly meetings we have with the province, they have changed a little bit of the requirements, so I think it was important to note that publicly. They're asking for all applicants to have their application into the municipality, in our case for us, by the end of September, which was the original date to have everything completed. And then they're going to work with the municipalities to get all of those letters provided to those applicants by the end of December. So I think that's helpful for those that may be watching or listening that have short-term rentals, or for folks that may check in our minutes for the record. So that's all been very helpful, that we've kind of worked with the province to make that change. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boone. Any questions for that on that report? Seeing none, I'll say thank you again for your fine work. 6.3, Finance Department Monthly Report. Amy Hurdle, Director.
Thank you. I'll try to get out through this without too much of a coughing spell. Finance Department, we've been pretty busy over the last few months working on the audit and getting that very, very close to finalization. So making progress. Hopefully that will be coming before you soon. Tax sale, we have a tax sale coming up October 22nd at Spring Hill Community Center. Quite a long list of properties. It just got posted in the paper today, and Jen brought it in to me, and it's a full page basically. We do expect a bunch of them to get paid off and come off that list, but that's where we're at. We continue to push forward with collections and trying to get all of that cleaned up. July was the first quarter we billed the new Spring Hill water meters, so that was exciting and a bit of a process, but it went relatively smoothly, I think, in the grand scheme of things. And the last thing I just wanted to highlight, and it's not actually in my report, but Pugwash officially opens today. Yay. We had kind of a soft opening last week on Thursday, but today is the first day that it is open, 2 days a week now, 8 to 5, Wednesday and Thursday. And I just want to thank the IT department and the facility coordinator for building the furniture that we put in there and helping us get set up. And I will take any questions.
Perfect, thank you very much. Any questions or comments from anyone on that? You? Go ahead, I got one too after you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a follow-up to an issue that Amy talked about, and that was the water meters in Spring Hill. Obviously, we've gone through a bit of a process and implementation and installation of those water meters. There are still a few customers who still don't have their water meters installed. There is a little bit more than a handful of folks who made appointments and then canceled appointments multiple times, and it appears to be in an attempt to avoid having their meter installed. And I can say that we're working on that. For those folks who think they've avoided having their meter installed, that's not the case. We'll be in touch very soon, and we'll be working through a process to get meters installed. It is a requirement that is established by the Nova Scotia Utility Review Board to have a residential meter installed, and we will be proceeding on that basis. It may mean, in some cases, the water service will be suspended as a last resort. We don't want to do that. We're trying to avoid that at all costs, but in some cases, it may be necessary. So, if you haven't made a water meter appointment yet, please call Kathy Kuhn. Number is in all of our information, and make an appointment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say thank you to you, Amy, and the staff for getting the services up and running, and everybody involved in that thing happening in Pugwash. I mean, that's been a goal of ours as a group for a long, long time now, to bring services to that end of the county and to help the citizens in that side of the county. So I'm so glad to hear that that's finally operational and we're up and running. So thank you very much. Appreciate your report. 6.4, Protective Services Department's monthly report. Director Alan Cole, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The highlights, or the primary highlights of Protective Services revolves around fire trucks this summer. On page 122 of your package are photographs of the trucks that have been delivered and the trucks ordered. There's the Amherst Light Rescue, which is in service or Advocate Light Rescue, which is in service in Advocate, the Westchester Rescue and the Trumanville Rescue, both of which are in service at their respective departments. There's a photograph on page 123 of the Wallace pumper truck, which we're expecting delivery in November, and the Pugwash pumper, which is an identical model to the Wallace pumper, which we expect delivery on late April, early May of next year. In that report, I refer to the Tidnish rescue truck as being up for tender. I'm pleased to advise that that tender is closed and been awarded, so the Tidnish truck is in the works. We don't have a delivery date on that truck yet. The emergency management plan, the new plan, which has been underway for quite some time now, is nearing final review, and hopefully it'll be in front of the Emergency Management Advisory Committee early October. New self-contained breathing apparatus has been distributed to all of the departments in the Pugwash hub as part of the equipment standardization policy that we have. The other departments will follow in years to come as we purchase additional SCBA. New gear washers are at all hub stations, and an additional gear washer at the Advocate Station. There's also new hose testers at all hub stations. The only other comment, council may notice that the number of calls at the Pugwash Fire Department have increased drastically over the last couple of months, and that's due to Pugwash expanding its medical call-out protocols. So it receives quite a few more medical calls than it had in previous months. And unless there's any questions, those are the highlights.
Councillor Gould.
Thank you. I just want to make comment, thank you for all your work over, especially the last year. We've done so much in fire service, but this is pretty impressive list when you start looking at it. We've got from Advocate to Wallace to Westchester. Every fire department is certainly seeing the benefits and the start of the standardizing the equipment and a new fire station. So it's a proud moment with this group because that was one of our goals, is to help support the fire departments and make sure that they have what they need to be safe. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor McCormick. Whoop, sorry, Jen and then Jen, okay.
Thank you. I just want to do a shout out to the Pugwash Fire Department. They came to my aid back in July when a friend of mine fell over the bank and broke her ankle in 2 spots. I could not wish for a better team, quick response, and them able to get her up that bank so that the EMS could look after her. So we're very thankful for that unit down there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tilling.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a big, huge thank you to Alan Cole for all his work. As Councillor Gould said, it's really great to see all of this coming to fruition after so much work through the years and prioritizing it. And I hope the new council decides to keep on with this route because it's so important to have these fire departments in good shape. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Councillor Redmond.
I echo Jen and Fred's. Al has done a marvelous job in working with our 17 departments. I couldn't be any prouder of him or the volunteers. This is always something that's very special to me, close to my heart. And I want to know if I can drive the truck out to Wallace in November.
No would be the answer unless you have your air brakes designation, I would think.
Now, how do you know I don't have my air
Well,
brakes?
I'm just guessing that you might not.
We need someone to hang on to the back of the truck just to test it.
Are you saying you need an
I can think of a number of people that could
anchor?
volunteer for that job, so.
Can you drive stick?
I can.
Yes, and the other thing, I see that we are now in the process of getting a new water supply for the Tidnish Bridge Fire Department. Give us a little update on that.
Yes, you're referring to their well.
Yes.
Yes. The well at the Tidnish Fire Department collapsed or dried up, and so they're putting in a new well.
Yep.
They're using their own volunteer funds to do that. The municipality isn't participating in the cost of that.
Thank you. Awesome. There's a number of people, again, to thank from you, Director Cole, and your staff, to the volunteers that work so tirelessly in our departments all over the county. I mean, and again, I echo some other comments here today that I hope going forward the next group continues on the path that we have begun with the fire service. I'm very, very proud of where we're at today versus where we were in 2020. I think we're getting there. It's a long process. We signed on for a long process. We all knew that going in, but to see it start to happen is really heartwarming, I gotta say. So thank you very much.
If I could just, just add, thank you, Mr. Chair. The other item that Al didn't mention in his report is that we continue and are, I could say, late stages in terms of fire agreements with both the town of Amherst and the town of Oxford. We may be in a position to bring one of the Amherst agreement to the October 2nd meeting of council. We're not quite sure yet. But through that process, and Kendall Spence, our new manager of fire services, has been involved in that process, we've really taken a deep dive into the finances and call volume and call history of each of the departments, not only the ones that are providing with contract services, but with our own departments, trying to establish, averages and best practices and that sort of thing. So it's been a wonderful process in terms of a deep understanding of that information. And there isn't a day goes by that Al and I don't talk fire departments, for sure. So, thank you.
That's a good thing. Councilor Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, and I can say this upon the 4 years that I've been here, instead of sitting on status quo, we more or less moved the yardstick really a lot forward. Whether the fire service review, the police review, clear the deck, we made strides to move forward and not just go day to day and sit on stuff. So I want to thank Director Cole. I want to thank our Deputy CAO and also everybody else that was involved with these reviews. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. You're welcome. Councilor Hotelling.
I had a question about, there was emergency management training for counselors that was scheduled and then canceled, and I just wondered if that would be coming back.
Mr. Chair, in fact, this morning I raised that issue with the emergency management coordinator to see if we could schedule something. I was thinking about November, but it looks as though November's pretty busy at the moment. But when the new council's in, yes, we plan on having that course for elected officials.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments? Seeing none, thank you very much, Director Cole, for your report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would be remiss if I didn't let council know what a huge help the manager of fire services, Kendall Spence, has been in putting not only the details or the data for the agreements with Amherst and Oxford together, but in just the day-to-day operations of the fire service.
6.5, Public Works Department Monthly Report. Justin Walkress, Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Public Works crews have been busy in Parrsboro and Spring Hill, working with contractors as part of our capital works. Our Public Works team in the community of Spring Hill has replaced 13 lead service laterals, and the crew in Parrsboro replaced 11 in advance of the capital paving programs that took place. That's very interesting, important work that supports the health of our residents. The capital paving contracts that have been awarded in Spring Hill and Parrsboro have been completed. A little bit of shouldering left to do in Spring Hill is all that's remaining there. Recently, Council has approved some more paving in Parrsboro, supported by the province's municipally owned Trunks and Roots cost share program. That work's scheduled before Remembrance Day this year. Another large capital project that Council approved this year that wrapped up just before the school opened. A good 48 hours, we poured the last couple slabs of the sidewalk after the last few telephone poles got moved. Was the Princess Street Road Improvements Project that extended sidewalk from Main Street all the way to Gilroy to service students walking to the new elementary school at the top of Princess Street. We also resurfaced the street at the same time. Very excited to have that done, and students were available to the students the very first day of school and witnessed them using it, and was very happy to see that. Works crew's been busy all throughout the county doing their normal operational duties and keeping things functioning. I'm happy to answer any council's questions.
Councilor Gould, followed by Councilor Edmund.
Thank you. Just
Big
Biggs Drive, the water repair, I was just curious what was going on there. Is there a major repair or is just regular maintenance?
It may have been just a water leak that was being repaired. It didn't rise up past the operational level.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Edmund.
I am going to thank your staff. They came out and did a sewer across from us. And to see government employees working as hard as they did all day long was refreshing. And even my husband, who used to work for, for the government, commented on how well they worked and how professional they were. So hats off to them, and you for.
Appreciate that. Like to work against stereotype.
Yeah, thank you very much. Councilor McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have two questions. First one is just an update on the staff entrance and the front entrance of the municipality building in Spring Hill.
Go ahead, Dr. Roberts.
I'll take it. So that's been a capital project that funds have been allocated for a few years. One of the things that we wanted to, so the short answer is it's not ready to go forward yet. The longer answer is we want to make sure that we design it in a way that makes sense, have it designed in a way that makes sense, and meets the accessibility standards. So recognizing there's probably more work there than we envisioned, particularly thinking about the front of that building. So those are the things, Councillor, that we kind of have in mind, but it's not anywhere near proceeding at this point. But we have the funds allocated. We intend to go forward. It's just been, hasn't been one of those things that we've gotten to.
Okay, thank you. The next question, Mr. Chair, is now that the project on Princess Street is complete, I've been getting quite a few calls with construction signs, especially the one at the corner of Main and Prince, that parents have to actually pull out into the crosswalk in order to see vehicles that are coming up Main Street. And I was wondering if they're perhaps going to come back soon and remove those signs.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
We did a final walkthrough last week with the contractors, and we did request them, they remove them at that time.
Thank you.
And I'll do a follow-up to make sure that they come back and follow through on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You have something more to add?
Yeah, so if,
Hang on,
Yes.
you're not next. Councillor Joseph, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the Director Walkrest, with all the capital projects going on, I just want to say thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
You're welcome.
Great.
yeah, thank you. Just wanted to follow up on the Princess Street and Spring Hill issue. A few comments about traffic flow, a few comments about, congestion there with the drop-off, pickup, new school, and all of that sort of thing. We're very much aware of that. I want to make sure that folks know that. What we don't want to do, though, is knee-jerk and do something that we have to change again. So we're in the process of talking to the RCMP, talking to school principal, trying to engage the Director of Conveyance and Busing at the District School Board, or Center for Regional Education Excellence, School Board, we'll call them the School Board, and talking to our crossing guards and public works staff. So it is under consideration. I want folks to know that, but we just need to make sure we've consulted the right people before we make any changes.
Thank you. I will say that generally speaking, most new schools come with some growing pains. Certainly been that case in the Amherst area and Brookdale, Cumberland North and whatever, with the almost immediate opening and changing the traffic patterns that inevitably follows. So anyway, but any other questions? Any other comments? Thank you, Director Walkrest, for your report.
You're welcome.
6.6, Recreation and Community Services. Alan McCormick, Director. The floor is yours.
Mr. Chair. Included in your council package, you'll find the July and August monthly reports. We had a lot of exciting things happening in our department this summer, and I'll just highlight a few. In terms of our summer recreation programming, we had another successful summer rec programming, which saw us have a total of 583 summer registrants for our various programs. Our summer rec staff completed 7 full weeks of adventure outdoor programming in Parsboro, Spring Hill, and Pugwash, 5 weeks of mini camps in various locations throughout the municipality, 7 weeks of Timbit soccer in 4 locations, while we also supported Bike Week, Canada Day festivities, and Old Home Weeks in Parsboro and Spring Hill. We also expanded some of our regular programming to include pre-K camps in 3 locations, T-ball in both Spring Hill and Parsboro, tennis in Pugwash and Parsboro, and ball hockey in Spring Hill. And we had a really great group of summer supervisors, leaders, and facilitators this year, and so we're really hoping that we can see many of them return this year or next year to again help us to implement another good, successful summer programming. As for the Glooscap Campground, overall we had good reservation numbers so far this season. Rainy weather and humid temperatures in July impacted our figures, but we saw a slight increase in reservations in August compared to last year. And we're also really busy with several projects that are happening right now in the campground itself. We've scheduled the demolition of the rec hall. That's going to be happening at the end of the season to minimize any disruptions to the campers. We are in the process of building the new rec hall as well. The RFP was recently awarded, so we're going to be beginning work on that in the fall. We've been doing upgrades to our existing water system, which we're continuing to work on, and the installation of our new septic system, which just started yesterday. So it's really exciting to see a lot of things happening in our campground. So it's wonderful progress. And finally, I just want to mention that we had the preseason hockey game between the Moncton Wildcats and the Halifax Mooseheads, and this is held at the Dr. Carson Mary Murray Community Centre on September 6th. It was an extremely successful event, and we sold exactly 800 tickets. So it was really nice to see us bringing in such a large event like this, and our staff are continuing to look at other ways we can continue to bring in events of various sizes. So a lot going on. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions or comments? Councillor Goodwin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to extend a heartfelt thank you to you and your staff for all the work that's being done at Glooscap Campground, and for council as a whole for supporting that work as well. And I do have one more question, if that would be possible. Thank you. Just a question about the lighting at the Parsboro tennis court and pickleball court. I've had a few people ask about evening lighting because it's getting darker earlier, and they're wanting to extend their play beyond those hours. Do you know how those lights might get turned on, or if they can be turned on?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Actually, we had our facilities coordinator go down last week, I believe, late last week, and we extended the lighting. And obviously, we want to make sure it complies with our existing bylaws, but we extended it to the extent that we could. And so we have been seeing certainly more activity on that, extending later into the evening. So
yes, lots of activity.
Yeah, and so
It's
we've been
nice
hearing
to
that
see.
as well. So yeah, we
Perfect.
got that done.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else have any comments or questions? I'll have one. The 583 participants. Is that more or less than last year?
We had more. Yeah, we have more this year than we've had in the past, and we're doing a large overall summer debrief next week. Actually, myself and our rec staff, so we'll be able to really take a deeper dive into those figures. But again, because we've expanded our programming, we've seen an increase in the number of registrants.
Awesome, great, thank you very much. I will say that I've talked to a number of people that were children and involved in the programs that were done this year, and they had nothing but absolutely positive things to say, and thought it was a great program this year. And lastly, the improvements and happenings at Glooscap Park. As you all know, I've been a promoter of Glooscap from day one. When we first got elected in 2020, we made that first visit there to decide what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. And it's absolutely awesome what's going on down there, and so thankful for the staff for getting those projects moving along. So thank you very much. Anyone else have anything to say? Just looking for Murray, see if he's going to stop. Okay, thank you very much. Information items, number 7.1, contracts awarded by the CAO. Mr. Harrod.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, in accordance with procurement policy, I am required to report to council on items that I award within the office, the authority of my office, and there's about $500,000 worth of contracts awarded there over the summer months. Highlights are the campground rec building, $147,000. We've talked about that quite a bit in the last few minutes. The Parsboro Library Options Report of $49,000, and that's something we want to shed some light on, and we'll do some promotion on that in the next few weeks. But essentially, that's a study to examine the options that are available to the municipality for either improving or replacing the current library facility in Pugwash. There'll be a public there'll be a public. Harsbro, sorry. There'll be a public, we've already done it in Pugwash. There'll be a
Old
public
news.
meeting, there will be a survey available to the public, and a report eventually to the municipality on options and on community fundraising capacity, thinking about the model that was followed in Pugwash and how the community responded to the need and shared in some of those costs. So that's that one. And the rest are mostly fire-related, but the details are there, and I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions on that? Councillor Goodwin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is just clarification, the Cape Door cinder block building remediation, would that be the lighthouse itself?
I wish that Roger McIsaac were here so that I could answer that in detail, but it is the building that's attached to the lighthouse itself.
Oh,
Yes,
okay, I
yes,
know,
yeah.
I know which one you mean.
Flat roof.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Anything else? Seeing no other questions or comments, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. So moved by Councilor Hoteling. We are now adjourned. Thank you very much, folks. You're mad at me now. I didn't get